Thursday morning, it's 9 a.m. It's time for the fun to begin. It is Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. 5 guests, 3 interviews on the program this morning. We'll dump into the toy department later on in the program. The Waukon Indian football team is in the semifinals for the 5th consecutive year. The Indians will take on Southeast Valley right here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We'll preview that game with the Indian football coach, Chad Beermann. The South Winneshiek School District fell a little short of passing a bond issue earlier this month for a new high school on the Northeast Iowa Community College campus. We will talk about the next step in their facilities process with South Winneshiek School Superintendent Kris Einck. But first things first this morning, the Decorah High School musical production of Tarzan will begin tonight, and we will preview the upcoming production this weekend with students involved in the production, Ada Lovelace and Dylan Muhlbauer, and one of the directors, Karen Trewin. That's going to be our first guest this morning on Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Beginning tonight, it's Tarzan, the stage musical being put on by the Decorah High School drama program, taking place tonight through Saturday. And a bunch of talented people chatting with me this morning. Karen Trewin is one of the directors and the heads of this, as well as 2 of our talented students from Decorah High School, Dylan Muhlbauer and Ada Lovelace. And KT, I'll talk with you. I get to talk to your husband quite often. Good to talk to the best member of the Trewin family. I know you've done this for quite some time. Talk about the process, first of all, of selecting what the students are going to perform every fall. How do you go about deciding which production you guys are going to do in the fall?
Sure. Thanks, Darren. Well, it's always an interesting process. And what we always start with is who we anticipate is probably going to audition for the musical, and what type of personnel we have, what their voices are, what their capacity is for creating characters. This year was a little different, though, because last year we really didn't have an opportunity to have a truly live theater experience. We had a variety show, and we had a hybrid model with a variety show where part of it was streamed and we had a partial audience in the house. But we also knew that coming into this year that we were probably going to have a good chance of having a full audience. And so we wanted to choose something that was appealing to all ages, and that would really be something the community would enjoy and get into. So Tarzan really seemed to fit the bill on a lot of different levels.
Ada and Dylan, I'll ask you guys. We'll start with you, Ada. How much work is involved in putting on this production, from the initial auditions to where you guys are at right now? And how rewarding is it to see where you start and see this whole process come to fruition?
It's a lot of work. And knowing going into it, like, how much you want to be in this show, because the musicals are always such a cool production to be a part of. You really put in a lot of work leading up to the auditions and then for the auditions. And then once casting comes out, then you're all in your ensembles or your groups and you're working really, really hard. And then you get to weeks like this week. And that's when it's just like, last night I had this, or like a few nights ago, I had this feeling like, oh my gosh, it's all coming together. And you just feel so rewarded and like proud of yourself and of the whole cast for everything you've done. And it's just really beautiful to watch.
And Dylan, I know KT brought this up. You guys had kind of a hybrid situation with the variety show last year. The way the world was, full audiences weren't a part of things, but this year you're going to have a full audience. And how much more fun is it to perform knowing the fact that you're going to have a full audience and you're going to have that interaction that the world basically didn't allow you to have last year?
So I've always said with theater, theater is one of the most like special kinds of performances, I think, because it's like a moment that you share with the audience and the actor that you can't really find anywhere else. Like, you can't replicate the feelings and like just the emotions and the energy that you feel together when you're in that auditorium all together. So having this like full audience of people is just going to both make the experience for like us as actors like 10 times more enjoyable, 10 times easier. But also I think it's really just going to make the show just 10 times better as an audience member, I think, just being there with all of us.
Karen, how many young people are involved in this production, from the behind the scenes people to the folks we'll see on stage coming up this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. All told, our cast, crew, and the students participating in the pit orchestra, we have about 79 students involved. We're really proud to have an all-student production crew. They have done an amazing job. They always show up and figure out how to use the light board, the sound system, manage props, scene changes, and things like that. And then this year we have a whole new dynamic with the fly system that we're using that helps characters like those played by Ada and Dylan to fly and to go from vine to vine in the jungle. So a lot of students putting a lot of effort and hard work into this production.
And Ada, I'll ask you, and I'll ask Dylan the same question right afterwards. What makes this Tarzan presentation special to you guys? What's the most fun part about this particular production?
I feel for me, it's just like the connection that I'm able to make with the story, and like my character, I really connect with her and like how she feels. And then there's also just the ensembles play such a huge role in this production, and that's always so fun to watch. Like our gorilla ensemble, like they really carry the whole thing, and it's really amazing to see all these people come together. And I feel like for me, that's what's most special about it.
Dylan, same question for you. What makes this a fun production to be a part of?
Well, of course, I could say pretty plainly here that I get to fly through the air and swing from vine to vine and all that. I mean, who wouldn't love that? But as Ada said, I feel like I really identify with my character and like the themes that this play talks about. I think it's some actually like really powerful stuff when you dig into it. And another thing I really think is amazing is there's a lot of underclassmen and younger people that participate in this show. And being an upperclassman, kind of seeing the progression of the drama program, it's always just really, really awesome to see that there are people stepping up, you know, and continuing the legacy, you know, of the program, and just knowing that everything's in good hands. So it's really exciting.
Did you think you could fly prior to auditioning for this part?
Well, it certainly was an experience, I'll tell you that. It was a progression from, you know, we had to get there from day one. So.
And Karen, I know there's a lot of work that goes into making this a reality. How often do the young people practice? How much work goes into this? How long have you guys been at this to make sure everything's going to go as well as possible this weekend?
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, as Ada and Dylan said, it is a commitment. It's a lot of hard work. We had auditions and casting back in August, and discussions with people even prior to that about the audition process, and have been rehearsing pretty well since then. Most of our cast and crew are involved in some other fall sport or activity. And so all of our musical rehearsals and the time we put into the production are scheduled around those things. So when we get into the thick of it in October, we have a lot of students who are at school from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. So it is a huge, it is a huge time commitment. It never fails to amaze me, the energy and the dedication that they all bring to it, though. It's truly a labor of love. I really hope that they're having an extraordinary experience with it. That's certainly our goal. But it comes with a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, and a lot of heart.
Ada and Dylan, I'll ask you about your specific roles in this production this weekend. Ada, what is your role, and how have you developed into that role as the practice and auditions have gone on since the month of August?
Okay, so my role is Jane Porter. So yeah, Jane of the Jungle at the end. But for me, right away, like when we started rehearsals, well, when I found out I got it, I was like, so excited. And then when we started rehearsals, like the first thing we did is we answered all these questions about our character that weren't like written in the script. You know, you had to think about it and you had to like dig into your character and learn about yourself and your character and put it all together. And so that like first thing that we did really helped me develop my character. And since then, I feel like I've just grown into her as like a person, as Ada and as Jane. And just like I've been able to see the world a little bit through her eyes when I'm performing. And that's really cool.
And Dylan, what role are you going to be playing this weekend? We know you can fly now. What is the role that folks are going to see you playing this weekend?
So I will be playing Tarzan this weekend. And much like Ada said, we asked a lot of questions about our characters, like who they are. And that really like helps us understand like who they are and like being able to see things through their eyes. And I think the biggest thing with Tarzan is that he feels like he doesn't know where he belongs or like what his identity is or who he is. And so just kind of having that in mind and then kind of feeling his like confidence at the end of the show really helped me like kind of become Tarzan in a sense. You know, you kind of have to change a lot of who you are, I guess, to take on the role of Tarzan, being like the wild man or whatever.
Now, I'll keep it with the students this time. I know you guys have been involved in multiple productions over the years. I'll ask you, Ada, what is the most rewarding thing about being involved in these productions at Decorah High School? And over the years, how have you evolved as a drama student?
Well, for me, I would have always told people is that theater and being in just music in general, like that's my safe space. And those people are my safe people. And that's just where I feel like I can be myself. And so starting off, like as a freshman, I wasn't super involved in the musical. I was really busy with a lot of other things. And so since then, like I've kind of grown more into like the drama program here at Decorah High School. And it's been really cool to meet people and get close with people and like find this group where I feel like I'm truly myself and I've just learned like about my talents and what I love to do. So.
And Dylan, same question to you. What's been the most rewarding part about being a part of these productions, and how have you evolved as a drama student over these past few years?
Well, I would say the thing that I find most rewarding about the drama program is just seeing how it like changes people for the better. I feel like people come out of the program like much more confident in themselves and just like a lot more happy. I know personally, I'll take this in my development with the drama program. I started out in the tech booth because I was too afraid to go on the stage. And I knew that I really wanted to be there. And so it took some coming out of my shell, I guess, to do that. And once I did take that step out of my comfort zone, I realized how happy it made me and like how confident it made me feel. And then just seeing that whole transformation happen with everyone else like around me was just something beautiful, I guess, to see.
Yeah, those are pretty cool stories. We'll go back to Karen here. Are tickets still available for this weekend's presentations?
They are, yes. And our productions are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night at 7:30, and we have a Saturday matinee at 1:30. Tickets are available online. There's a link on the Decorah activities page on the district website, so you can choose your tickets online, much like you would on a Ticketmaster type of platform, or you can stop by the school office to purchase tickets. And then the school box office will be open an hour before production time, so you can always drop by the school, but they are going, so I just encourage everybody to log on or stop by the office ahead of time to avoid any disappointment.
And Ada and Dylan, I'll give you guys one final chance to give the community a invitation for this weekend to come out and let you guys show off your talents to the great community. Well, Ada, you can go first.
Yeah, I just encourage everybody to come because theater is such a cool thing to watch, and people being there for us makes it so much better for us, and we're able to be our best selves and show you guys this whole new world that we've created in Tarzan. So yeah, come please.
Dylan, your turn.
All right. Well, I would say we finally get to have an opportunity to have something that feels normal, I guess. And I will say personally, you will not be disappointed with the show that we're going to put on for you guys. I think it's something really special, and I invite everybody to come out and enjoy it.
All right, Ada Lovelace, Dylan Muhlbauer, Karen Trewin from the Decorah High School musical production, Tarzan, starting tonight at the Decorah High School Auditorium. Best of luck for the weekend performance. I know you guys will do great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Support, Darren.
And then Tarzan coming up Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and a Saturday afternoon matinee performance. Go to the Decorah High School activities page to order your tickets. Earlier this month, the South Winneshiek School District voters went to the polls regarding a potential new high school on the Northeast Iowa Community College campus. Over half of district voters supported the idea, but such a measure requires a 60% supermajority. And here to discuss the next steps in the process is South Winneshiek Superintendent Kris Einck. And Kris, going back to the vote on November 2nd, what was your assessment? What was your reaction to how things went?
Yeah, Darren, we were obviously disappointed that the measures didn't pass. However, we were extremely encouraged that, half of our voters were in favor of the bond referendum. The overall turnout, I feel is very exciting. We had close to 1,400 people that voted. And I'd really like to just thank everyone who voted and all the people that helped with the endeavor. That's a critical part of our democratic process, is to go out and participate. And we had, I believe we have about 2,634 registered voters in the South Wind District. We had almost half of those people go out, or over half, go out and vote. So that's very, very encouraging. Right now, the team plans to kind of regroup and determine our path moving forward. But again, we feel very strongly that this bond referendum not only is an investment in our students, but it's an investment in our communities, and it's an investment in our economy. And while again, it didn't pass, we do feel very positive about this first step and moving forward with it.
And do you have an opportunity to assess why people voted no on this? Is there a way to get any of that feedback moving forward and have that as part of the reassessment process, or is it just kind of speculation more than anything?
Well, that's the difficult part. And when I say difficult, I mean that's going to be our job. That's going to be the key, is to go out there and try to have some listening sessions and try to figure out what our constituents want different, or what they didn't understand, or what we can do to get this thing to go through. So yeah, that's our top priority, is to try to discover that or come to some type of conclusion so we can, get this thing to move forward. I think the bottom line is, if we're all on the same page as far as student achievement is our number one priority and remains our number one priority, and people understand that, then we're going to be successful.
In the process that led up to the vote, doing your own Monday morning quarterback, would you have done anything differently?
Well, you always look back and there's always things that you can improve upon. For me to say that, no, I think we did everything we could do and there was nothing else we could have done, would be pretty arrogant and pretty ignorant. Getting out there and trying to talk to as many people, as many of our constituents as we can, I think is crucial. We had 4 open forums. And actually, Darren, we had really good turnout. Our first open forum, we had over 100 people. Our second open forum, we had over 50. Then our last 2, we had over 30 each. And you kind of expect that, that first one you're going to have is probably going to be the largest. And then the crowd will go down just because people are, you're getting that information out. But we got to do a better job. And we got to get out our message. And, I'm pretty confident we can do that.
And I know the 60% super majority is a very high threshold to reach, but state law requires it. And most people would agree when you're talking about $19 million in taxpayer funds that it should be that high of a threshold. I know some other districts have looked at that threshold and gone a little more of a different outlook or a different way of financing school projects because of that 60% supermajority threshold. Is that something that perhaps you need to look at in the future in your efforts to improve facilities?
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's not easy. And I do believe, I'm with you, Darren, it should be a 60% supermajority threshold because you're talking about a lot of money. And, the taxpayers are paying for that. I think something to put it in perspective, you have to remember there were quite a few other districts, throughout the state of the Iowa that went out for bond referendums last week. And we were one of the only, or at least the few that were actually building a brand new school. We weren't just putting a gym on or updating our HVAC or, those type of things. We were building a brand new school, and the proposal was to put it on a community college, NICC. And so that itself is pretty unique, and it's not cheap. But we did look at various options, and that's why we had to have two measures on the bond referendum. The first measure was asking basically if you would approve, the voter would approve the school board to go out and issue $19,155,000 worth of general obligation bonds. And the second question was to approve raising that tax rate $4.05. And that's quite a bit for a voter, for a taxpayer to stomach. And I understand that. But again, our message was this is an investment. This is an investment not only in our students, but our local economies and our communities. And we still feel strongly about that. And we just got to do a better job of making sure people understand that while, yes, we are going to raise that overall tax rate 405, we can restructure our overall tax rate and bring that down. So it's not a 405 increase. It's actually a $2 $2.49 increase.
And you bring up that issue. Seems to me you're talking about avoiding the sticker shock issue when it comes to increasing perhaps that tax rate. How do you go about selling that to people? Because school financing, as you very well know, is a very complicated thing. And I'm around it quite a bit, and I don't understand it as well as I should have. How do you go about selling that to people that, yes, it says 405 on the measure and what you vote, but eventually it's going to be a lot less than that. How do you go about explaining that in a simple way that voters can understand that?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's called being as transparent as you possibly can and getting out there and talking to people and trying to explain to them how this works. So your overall tax rate, school tax rate, there's different levies and funds that make up that. And that's the fund that we need in order to raise it 405 generates that 19 million. But there's other funds and levies that we can bring down. For instance, one of them is the management fund. And we have been putting quite a bit of money into our management fund, but we're at the point now that we've right-sized our district that we don't have to stick as much money into that. And that management fund's property tax, so that lowers the property tax end of it. And there's something called income surtax, which is the amount of tax you pay in state income tax at the end of the year, and it's a tax on that amount. And if we raise that, that's actually gonna, if you're making, let's say you pay $5,000 in state income tax at the end of the year, which you'd have quite a lofty salary if you're paying that kind of state income tax. That's going to raise it about $250, but that's not a property tax. So those two things right there, we can cut that overall tax rate down to only $14 $12.99. Right now we're at $12.51. And a lot of people have said, well, what's the commitment? How do we know that the school district, the school board, the administration is committed to keeping that tax rate low? Well, the proof's in the pudding, Darren. You go back 9 years, you go back the last 9 years, and you take the average, okay, that would be $12.51. That's exactly what our tax rate is this year for FY22 budget, $12.51. You go back 10 years, our tax rate was $14.94. You want to know why? Because that was the last year we were paying off our last bond referendum, which was 30 years ago, back in 1992. And I've got a feeling if I could go back in time to 10 years ago and ask people, hey, in 10 years, if our tax rate right now is $14.94 and it's only going to go up a nickel to $14.99, I think people would be okay with that. And oh, by the way, at $14.99, which is what we were proposing to set our tax rate at if this would have passed, you're going to get a $19 million state-of-the-art facility on a community college site. So it's just a matter of getting out there, being very transparent, answering questions, and talking to our constituents.
One of the aspects that was unique, as you very well know, is the aspect of building this on a community college site. Do you feel that partnership between your district and Northeast Iowa Community College should be something that needs to keep being pursued into the future?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That partnership is absolutely critical. And I feel pretty confident that we'll continue that partnership. And for many reasons, obviously the opportunities that we can provide students, being able to share resources, those are probably two of the biggest reasons.
I know your board discussed this a little bit at its meeting earlier this week. What was the message from the board regarding the vote on November 2nd, and more importantly, how to move forward?
Yeah, you know what? The board, we basically what I just said before, we were disappointed the measures didn't pass, but extremely encouraged, that half of our voters were in favor of the referendum. We were very excited again about the turnout, and we just, we feel very passionate and strong about this endeavor, and that we need to move forward.
One non-facility related question for you. One matter that caught my attention on your agenda this week was discussion about the possibility of remote learning on snow days. We've had a very nice fall, but it is November now, and the weather is probably going to go in a direction that, some of us may not like. How did that discussion go on Monday night?
Yeah, we just discussed so last year, obviously with the pandemic, the state of Iowa Department of Ed allowed school districts to use remote learning on snow days. And then at the end of the year, they reversed that decision. However, what you can do, most school districts, you have to choose if you want to be on hours or days, right? Most school districts are on hours. I don't even know if there's any. There might be a couple districts that are still on days, but most school districts utilize hours. And what that means is you have to have a minimum of 1,080 hours on your calendar. Okay. Now you can go over that, Darren, but you got to have a minimum. That required 1,080 hours. Now we go over that. We have essentially built-in snow days. But the problem arises where our teachers are on contract days, but our students are on hours. And you have a year like 2019 or 2018-19 school year where we missed 15 and a half days of school, and all of a sudden that gets out of whack. And you're looking at the end of the year where the students don't have to make up as much time as the teachers do. And then you're looking at, well, do we want students to get out on this date, but yet we have teachers coming for 6, 7, 8 days after the students are gone. So what we could potentially do is actually those days that are past the 1,080, we could utilize remote learning still.
All right, Kris, we appreciate all of the information and the discussion and ways to move forward. This is a issue that you guys are still going to be dealing with, and I'm sure going to be talking about it quite a bit into the future. We appreciate you taking some time and discussing the next steps on improving the facilities in your school district. Always a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
Kris Einck is the superintendent of the Southwind School District, discussing the next step forward regarding facilities in the Southwind District. For the 5th year in a row, the Waukon Indian football team is in the Class 2A semifinals, where with head coach Chad Beermann, Indians got there with a 28-14 win over North Fayette Valley last Friday night. And coach, not easy to beat a good team 2 times in the same season. Not easy to beat a team who's pretty familiar with you twice in the same season. How'd you get it done last Friday?
Our defense played really well. I thought, and offense, trying to get the drives, and we had 400 yards rushing again. And threw the ball a little bit, didn't throw it particularly well on Friday night, but they had a couple big plays. They had a kickoff called back for a touchdown, and then they had a long run on a touchdown after we got stopped. We had the ball on the 2-yard line and got turned away, and then they had a drive that ended up with a 77-yard touchdown run to go up or to get on the board and tie it up. And then we kind of got a couple more scores and pulled away from a little bit. And, they made another score to make it interesting. And, North Fayette Valley's kids played really hard. I think we might have been a little bit more physical, a little bit more athletic. But as far as effort, their kids couldn't have played any harder than they did. And they had some kids got hurt during the course of the game that kind of impaired what they could do, but they kept battling.
In your running game, you mentioned another good night for them, almost 400 yards on the ground last Friday night. What has made your running game so effective here in the postseason?
Our offensive line. I mean, we've got good backs, Lincoln and Pat. And obviously, Pat's getting the majority of the carries, but the line does an outstanding job blocking, and opening up those holes. And we're seeing a lot of different looks and a lot of different blitzes, and they're doing picking stuff up. And Coach John does a good job coaching those kids up and the effort that they give. And then we've got backs that'll hit the hole. And then when somebody's ready to tackle them, they're physical with them. And that's how you end up breaking the long runs is making one more kid miss than they've got. So
we mentioned this is the 5th straight year you've reached this point in the postseason. Is the routine pretty much the same as you are used to this over the last half of a decade? Do you ever tweak anything getting ready for the semifinals, or is it a case of you guys are so used to this that you know what to do from a practice and a preparation standpoint this time of year?
One of the big differences is we're playing at 10 a.m. instead of an afternoon or evening game, which is we're going to leave about 5:45 on Friday morning or Saturday morning, so that'll be change up for the kids. But other than that, we're watching lots of films, and our preparation time is about like it would normally be. We gave them easy on Monday, a little harder work on Tuesday, just to get them ready for with that extra day of rest.
And of course, daylight savings time no longer a thing. How does that change your practice throughout the week when things get dark at 5 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock?
We'll actually be outside till about 5 o'clock with special teams and some of the passing stuff that we need to work on. And we take it in the gym from 5 to 6 anyway, just to kind of get the kids acclimated to being inside, playing in a warmer situation. And so that's kind of how we've prepped things the last few years.
And I know playing indoors is a little bit different, even though the weather has been relatively warm here for this postseason. But this is a new group of kids playing indoors. How do you get kids used to the warmer temperatures and the climate-controlled environment as compared to playing outdoors with a little bit of wind, a little bit of chill this time of year?
Well, one of the big things is hydration. I mean, we push it all year long to try to keep those kids carrying extra fluids in their system. Because if you try to pump the fluids, in the last 24 hours, your body will react by flushing it. So we try to push that all season long, but particularly going into, knowing if they're going to be sweating more. And then you have extra timeouts during the play, but then you have a shorter halftime. You have a 12-minute half instead of 15. So that's recovery time. So it's just a different situation for the kids. But hydration is the big thing to try to push on them.
Southeast Valley going to be your opponent coming up on Saturday morning. What have you been able to find out about them through your preparation and study to this point?
Well, everything goes through the quarterback. He's a dual threat, throwing the ball very well, but is their leading rusher as well. Has probably the best average per carry per kids. He actually reminds me a little bit of Hennessy if Hennessy was playing quarterback. I mean, he's that kind of runner. And then they have the Graves kid who's committed to Iowa. I think he committed after his freshman year. He is a specimen. He's a really good offensive, defensive lineman, very aggressive, quick off the ball, and good size. So, and obviously they've got kids that complement both those guys, but those are the two kids that really stand out on their films.
Do they remind you of anybody you've played this year, or are they just kind of a unique team based on the teams that have been on your schedule to this point?
They don't really remind me of anybody. Maybe Decorah a little bit with some of the formations that they run. Defensively, not a. I mean, we're seeing a lot of three front. They're running a three front, and they're putting that Graves kid at nose right now, and so that'll be. We'll see how they adjust to our off tackle stuff. They've seen mostly spread teams based on the film we've looked at, and particularly in the playoffs. So.
All right, Coach, here's hoping we can have another conversation next week, and you can get a victory on Saturday, keep your kids healthy, and hopefully we can preview a state championship game next week. Coach, we wish you best of luck.
All right, thank you.
Chad Beermann, head coach of the Waukon Indians. It's Waukon and Southeast Valley Saturday morning at the Unidome in the 2A semifinals. Thursday morning, it's 9 a.m. It's time for the fun to begin. It is Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. 5 guests, 3 interviews on the program this morning. We'll dump into the toy department later on in the program. The Waukon Indian football team is in the semifinals for the 5th consecutive year. The Indians will take on Southeast Valley right here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We'll preview that game with the Indian football coach, Chad Beermann. The South Winneshiek School District fell a little short of passing a bond issue earlier this month for a new high school on the Northeast Iowa Community College campus. We will talk about the next step in their facilities process with South Winneshiek School Superintendent Kris Einck. But first things first this morning, the Decorah High School musical production of Tarzan will begin tonight, and we will preview the upcoming production this weekend with students involved in the production, Ada Lovelace and Dylan Muhlbauer, and one of the directors, Karen Trewin. That's going to be our first guest this morning on Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.